Hey guys, so this wasn't a video we were expecting to make right now, and it's definitely not a video we wanted to make so soon after buying our first home.
However, this is not clickbait. We did sell our house, and we are once again 100% debt-free. And we feel like we owe you guys an explanation in terms of why we have sold our house so soon after moving in, especially after making a series of videos about the move-in process and kind of getting settled and things like that. So 14 months ago, we filmed a reveal video about moving into our first house. We were very excited not only to get into our first house, but also to get out of an apartment that we had been living in for the past 2 years, dealing with all sorts of things that are fairly common with apartment living. People running and stomping around at all hours above you, other neighbors throwing parties on the weekends until 2 in the morning. You get the idea. One of our biggest goals with buying the house in the first place was just to be able to get out of the noisy environment we were living in and into an environment that would be much more conducive to working from home and being able to concentrate. And one that, if we wanted to go to bed early at 9:30 at night or something like that, we wouldn't have to worry about somebody waking us up 15 minutes later.
We also wanted a place that we could call home and a place that was our own. Also something we could grow into and something we could grow equity in and our wealth in over time.
However, there were some big extenuating circumstances that came up that were ultimately out of our control, and these are what ultimately forced our hand into selling. Please don't hate us. We're begging you guys not to hate us, because Brit and I both feel like it's best, at least for right now in this video, not to go into those things just for the sake of our privacy. We want to be transparent with you guys as our viewers, but at the same time we want to also protect our privacy and not put every single little bit of information about us online. That being said, there were some smaller reasons that kind of compounded on the bigger ones as to why we sold, and those we can talk about.
So the first reason was my commute. So where we were living before, it took about 15 to 20 minutes to get to work, and 20 minutes was with traffic. And after we moved, it took all the way up to an hour to get to work going one way or back home one way if traffic was really bad. So that just compounded after a really long day at work.
Yeah, I remember there being sometimes Brittany would call me on her way home, and it wouldn't be like an hour and a half later when she would actually get home.
Yeah.
She wouldn't be stuck in traffic the whole time, but most of it was in traffic. I mean, she'd stop and go to the grocery store or whatever.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a long grocery trip. I was only in there like 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, but stuff like that, just like Brittany said, like after a long day, it really gets to you. And people who have long commutes can probably attest to this. The second one is ultimately the area that we were in, we liked. That wasn't really where we saw ourselves in 5 years, or maybe even in 3 years. We really want to end up in Hawaii. We lived in Hawaii for a while. We really want to get back there if possible. Or if not Hawaii, we'd love just to be by a beach again, maybe in Florida, something like that. In the house, we felt like we were very, very tied down to the house. Whereas in an apartment like we're in now, it costs 1 month's rent to break the lease, but we can do it very, very quickly. We don't have to worry about finding another buyer to move in, and then maybe they can't close for 2 or 3 months, and kind of be stuck in this limbo stage.
You don't know if it's going to work out or not.
So here we can get out as quickly as possible.
Another reason is we're closer to family now, which is really important and something we like. So that's been a positive. Yeah,
and aside from that, we're just closer to everywhere now. Yeah. So the house was kind of like, it wasn't in the middle of nowhere, but it was in the middle of this. It was an interesting area. There was just kind of like, it was kind of like out in the country feel, but there were also developments within sprouting up around it. The grocery store that is the most financially efficient for Brittany and I to shop at, and the one that we liked shopping at the most, was like 15 or 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
And so we really had to weigh, okay, is it worth it to drive 20 minutes to the grocery store and then 20 minutes back just to get a couple things that we may not need immediately, but we kind of really would want. So we felt like we were kind of away from everything. And there weren't very many restaurants over there. There were a couple of really nice restaurants. A couple of fast food restaurants, but these weren't like the healthiest fast food. I mean, these weren't like...
It wasn't good for you, especially when your main go-to grocery store is so far away, and when you're getting low on items and you don't want to go, you end up going to fast food to get food. Yeah. Another thing was medical. We are a lot closer to a lot of medical facilities now than we were before, so that's a big plus.
Especially ones in network, which are huge.
Yeah, that's a huge cost saving.
So obviously, the real estate market is red hot right now, which definitely helped us in making this decision to sell. We came out very, very good after selling. We pretty much doubled our money that we put into the house after 14 months, which is crazy. We didn't expect to have this much equity in our house until 3 or 4 years from now. It's just insane.
So some other things we noticed after moving from our house to the apartment is we actually prefer a smaller space, and I was surprised by this.
Yeah, so like the apartment we were living in before the house was, 750 square feet, which I think if it had had like maybe 100 square feet more, it would have been perfect for Brit and I. And oddly enough, this apartment is about 850 square feet, so we feel very comfortable. It'd be nice to have another bathroom. But
Yeah.
other than that, like this is the perfect amount of space for us.
Also, there's less responsibility here, and what we mean by that is we have less that we have to keep up, like yard work, pest control, things around the house. If it breaks, it's on you, just stuff like that.
Yeah, at the house we were paying like over $100 every month on average just to maintain the yard and for pest control and things like that. And I mean, it might as well have been like a separate HOA fee on top of the HOA fee we were already paying for.
Right.
And a big pro of getting out of the house is that we are 100% debt free again.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice to have the weight of a mortgage lifted off of our shoulders, even though it didn't feel like it wasn't all that heavy. It's weird. Like it didn't feel like we were deeply in debt having a mortgage. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because
I think it's because we knew we were growing equity and there was a positive to it.
Yeah, and that unless we just paid cash for something to live in, we would just ultimately have to be paying some sort of monthly expense just to live there anyway, regardless of where we're living.
Right.
Speaking of monthly expenses to live somewhere, some of you guys may be wondering, especially if you watched our video a few videos ago, we said something along the lines of like we couldn't ever see ourselves living in an apartment again.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Here we are.
Some of you guys may be like scratching your heads about that. Here's something that we failed to mention in that video is that it's not necessarily the apartment that we dislike. Like living in an apartment is fine. It's just all the noise and everything that typically comes with apartment living. Hearing the person below you, hearing the person above you or beside you, and hearing somebody blast their music until 3 in the morning.
Like we said before, basically.
Yeah. So it's that stuff that we dislike. So what we've done this time is we've really researched and done our due diligence to find something much, much more insulated from that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So when we were doing our research, we found this complex which has concrete floors in between every single unit, which is huge.
Yeah, so that should help a lot with sound insulation between like the person below us and us and them.
It's also newer construction and a higher quality build, so we noticed there's a lot better insulation here than our previous apartment.
Also, our particular unit is isolated in our building. There's nobody around us. The only unit that is attached to ours directly is the person below us, and that's it. This apartment complex is a bit more expensive, however, and I think just because things are so much better built. And Brittany and I are hoping that's going to translate to all of the problems and issues that we experienced in our previous apartments not happening here. We're going to see. So far, it's been very good.
Yeah.
And in some ways, it's been even more quiet than our house was, which is strange.
That's really weird.
We are cautiously optimistic in that regard. So if you guys are interested, the next video we make will probably be an apartment tour and also breaking down how much it costs to move in, because there are costs associated with moving into an apartment. Not nearly as much as there are moving into a home, but they are there, and we think it'd be good information to just to talk about.
Yeah, especially if someone's looking for an apartment, it does help. The next video we make would have been beneficial, I think, for us starting out.
100%, yeah. So if you are interested in seeing that video and haven't subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button too if this video is interesting or helpful or whatever.
Also, you can follow us on Instagram at It's Mike and Brit. We post there every now and then.
Yep, and with that being said, guys, thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye.